guys, what's going on? It is Ash here coming at you today with a very special war recap. It's Red Elite versus OneHive, and as I set the table to that recap, let me just quickly brag about this raid that I literally just found about an hour ago now. Another 2.8 million resource raid, including the league bonus, and I'm so happy that I found this. I was so thrilled. I hate to admit this, but I was actually driving and clouding at the time that I found this raid, so I had to pull over, get this raid in, and get those 2.8 million resources. Was thrilled to find this. But actually, getting to the war recap, we got beat recently, actually this weekend, in an arranged war versus OneHive. It was our first time warring against OneHive, and I gotta tell you, it was an honor to war against them. They beat us by 5 stars, and it was really a convincing victory, especially given the clan composition. We warred with way more Town Hall 10s and Town Hall 9s than we normally do in our clans. We only had 5 Town Hall 11s in this war, so a little bit different than we're used to, and they had really good bases mixed with really skilled attacks. We're gonna see a lot of those attacks today, and I'll bring some in future tutorials as well. You can see the stats here: 31 to 35 in the 3 stars, average destruction 93.9 versus 96.2. So again, they pretty handily beat us here, so it was a pleasure though warring against them, and I am just digging out of the hole that I dug for myself in the ground in embarrassment because I choked in a big way in this war, and I'll share my fail as I always do for you guys in this recap. So before we get to my fail, let's actually get to their side of the map, and you can see they actually used an attack that I've shown against my own base. I did switch up my base. I switched up the traps, I switched up a couple Teslas, and I put that Dark Elixir storage in front of the Town Hall. I made a few adjustments on my base. I still like this as an anti-3-star base, but you can see a Town Hall 9 was able to take me down for 2 stars here, and they had so many extra Town Hall 9 attacks in this war because they freshly 3-starred almost all of our Town Hall 9 bases. And another really smart thing that they did that you guys might want to do if you're in a war with a similar composition to this is they actually centralized their Town Halls on a lot of their Town Hall 11 bases. I think 4 out of 5 were centralized Town Halls, as you can see here. This one not so much, but the idea behind that is it didn't allow our Town Hall 10s and 11s to easily go up and do what they did to us and get those easy 2 stars against the Town Hall 11s. That's something we're not used to, and let's just kind of hop into the replays here. I'm not going to share any Town Hall 11 attacks because unfortunately almost all of our Town Hall 11 attacks, except for yours truly in my big choke job, were against their Town Hall 10s in cleanup. We had to do much more cleanup than they did, obviously, and that was really the story of this war. But anyway, getting into these attacks, guys, the bad news is we lost. The bad news is I was mortified and embarrassed on my crappy attacks. And the good news, though, is for all of you guys and for me, is there were some amazing raids on each side of this war. So we're going to start out by watching Pero's attack, and he's a really good attacker. You guys probably know him from a lot of Jake's videos, and I don't know about you guys, but I really miss Jake. He was one of the real good guys, whether you guys know it or not. If you're watching this video, he was one of really truly the voices of the people as far as the YouTubers go. So really miss Jake. Shout out to Jake if you're watching here. Jake was actually in this war, so true to his word, he's taking a break from YouTube, but definitely not the game itself. So really hoping to see Jake back in the YouTube game after maybe a couple weeks off or something. I actually talked to him today, and he said he was doing very well and actually having some time to focus on catching up on sleep and his family and stuff like that. So my thoughts are definitely with him. But anyway, touching on this raid here, you can see Pero has a really nice and a very long queen walk to start out this raid from basically 9 o'clock all the way down to 6 o'clock, where he used the wall breakers to bust into that core. And this is where things get really interesting here. The miners come in from 9 o'clock, basically all headed towards that northwest Inferno tower. Then he drops the rage, the heal, and then he has his heroes basically going towards that other Inferno tower, the southeast. And basically that's what you want to look at. A really interesting way to tackle this base by Pero. You can see that what he did was basically is he accounted for both of the Inferno towers. And you know, with any miner attack, especially at Town Hall 10, when there's a smaller margin for error in terms of your miner DPS and health, you really need to account for both of those Inferno towers. And what a cool way Pero did by attacking this base, basically planning his kill squad for the southern Inferno tower, and then after that queen walk had really set the table for a nice funnel for those remaining miners to hit that northwest Inferno tower. And then from there, basically the miners just work in a clockwise formation. He made it look really easy, that 3-star. Very nice attack there. Was really impressed with that one. It was tough seeing these attacks live, guys, because every single one of these was full of spectators. And that's one thing from Clash Royale that I really wish we had in Clash of Clans. In Royale, you can watch a match, you can have over 1,000 people watching a match live. In Clash of Clans, it'd be really cool if they bumped that number up to 100. That way, everybody could feasibly, or to, I guess, 98, that way everybody could feasibly watch an attack if they wanted to live. Anyway, moving on to the next raid here, again, starting with a Queen Walk. I'll tell you one thing about OneHive is at Town Hall 10, a lot of their attackers seem to use this strategy, starting out with a Queen Walk, going into a nice minor attack focused on one of the Inferno Towers. So if you kind of break it down, it's a lot like Pero's attack. Of course, the Queen Walk was a bit shorter in this attack, but still, he's going to funnel his troops into that Inferno Tower compartment, at the same time creating a nice funnel for those miners. And you know what, guys? This is the part of the video where I start eating a little bit of crow here, because let's be honest, you know what you guys are watching right now? It's a two-phase attack, and it's a pretty technical attack. Look at it. The first phase is a golem, followed by some bowlers in the clan castle, and they has clear objectives. They're taking out the enemy queen, they're clearing out the clan castle, and they're taking down one of the Inferno Towers. And see all those miners coming in from the northwest? Well, those are the second phase. Those are basically the same type of role as back-end hogs would be in what we'd consider a two-phase attack at Town Hall 9. And it's just at Town Hall 10, and it's different troops, but hey, it's the same basic idea. So you know what? I think I kind of need to man up here. I've been on Supercell's back a lot about these spammy attacks, and maybe I was wrong, guys. I'm going to take a step back and reevaluate. Not just because of this raid or any of the raids I'm going to show you guys today or this war, but the more and more I think about it, the more and more I do think that base design is going to catch up a bit. I do want to touch on clan castles and a lot of base design tips when we get to the other side of the this clan war on our attacks. But you know what? I think when the defense catches up a little bit, and maybe with a few minor adjustments, no pun intended, to the troops here, maybe bowlers are a bit strong at Town Hall 9 when you put them in the clan castle at level 3, and there are some tweaks that I do think probably need to be made, but maybe I should soften or at least re-examine my my whole take on the spam attacks and the big need for not nerfing, but I really called for indirect nerfs. But that's probably a topic for another video. Let's hop back into one of my favorite raids at Town Hall 9 by Khal Drogo here from OneHive. Now, this is a really, really nice attack, and I'm bringing it to you guys because we actually saw a lot of really sweet air raids, especially at Town Hall 9 on both sides of this war. I'm going to bring you a couple on the other side as well, and you can see here a beautiful two-phase attack. Now, almost every attack at Town Hall 9 nowadays, no matter what it is, if it's a Go La Loon, if it's a Penta La Loon, even if it's obviously HGHB, no matter what it is, there's one thing in common, right? And it's bowlers in the clan castle, because bowlers absolutely wreck bases at Town Hall 9. You put a bowler under rage in the core of a Town Hall 9 base like this, and basically no matter what strategy you're using back end, whether it be La Loon or even hogs, no matter what you're using, the bowler's going to set the table really, really nicely for the back end of your attack. And you can see here what a great job Khal does here of really, really knocking down these air defenses and perfectly planning where he places lava hounds as well as the balloons here. At the end of this raid, I don't think he even lost a balloon. Maybe a few of them popped here, but look at this. Just really, really nice precision placement there. Was really impressed with this raid. I actually caught this one live, and I'll tell you what, I was speechless after I saw this base go down. Look at all the balloons left alive. The hound hasn't even popped yet. He still has bowlers alive. He still has the queen alive in the core. This was a sweet attack, and you know what? There was another attack by Khal that I'm going to probably share on a future video. I'm probably going to try it out myself as a Town Hall 9 because I'd love to do a more instructional video on how to combine bowlers and miners at Town Hall 9 with air raids. Alright guys, so now is the part of the recap where I start to cry a little bit because this is the raid that I absolutely blew. Would you believe it or not that I actually thought I was going to 3-star this base, or I had confidence that I would 3-star it. Starting my queen walk from around here, having her take out this compartment, and then moving the miners, the Barbarian King around this elixir pump here, and then basically putting the miners around this elixir pump, these 3 areas, and then just take out this Inferno Tower and then move to the core of the base. And then I thought I could use that last rage spell to cover that last Inferno Tower. However, I did say I was going to note their clan castle compositions and their base design, and they had some really killer bases all the way from the top to the bottom. We expected nothing less, but let's see how this raid went, and we'll kind of touch on what went wrong as we go through it here. So everything starts out pretty much as planned, right? The queen, I knew she wasn't going to head towards that Dark Spell Factory, factory because she's actually closer to that mortar, so I wanted her to head up north, and that's what she does here. So let's speed up a little bit here. Now I'm actually going to deploy my Barbarian King. I create that funnel for the miners. Everything is going pretty much according to plan. Now my miners do bunch up a little bit more than I had intended, so then I pop my Grand Warden ability early on here. The idea here was to protect my miners as they engage that first Inferno Tower. So things are actually going fine right now. A lot more miners than I anticipated are going towards the Inferno Tower at this point. I thought some would branch off, but really no worries at this point. And then I see the Golem in the Clan Castle, which I knew about, and almost, I shouldn't say almost all, but at least half of their Town Hall 11s and Town Hall 10s had golems in a balloon in the Clan Castle, and that may as well spell anti-miner. And do you see what happened, guys? You might have to rewind and watch again, because my entire army of miners, every single miner I had, 30, whatever, actually more than 40 miners, died at the hand of a giant bomb, the golem, and a balloon. That's it, guys. That was the raid. It was over. That was, that was my giant fail. And then to make matters worse, I failed on a dip with a Pentalaloon. I mean, I had the worst war ever, and it was one of those things, I'm sure we've all been there, right? Where have you ever had a war that you were just so mortified? I mean, the name of the clan is the name of my freaking YouTube channel, and boy, did I just absolutely choke, and I have no excuses. Other than that, it was just really poorly planned, and I did spend time planning them too, so that's probably not even an excuse as well. But luckily, as I said, it's not all about me, and we can move on to a much better attack from my end. And as you can see, we're starting out with this attack by French. French, a really, really good Town Hall 10 attacker, and the reason I love this raid so much, you can see the composition, the army comp is very similar to what we saw on the other end with their Town Hall 10, the miner attacks. But the reason I love this raid is because things don't go perfectly. There was a wall breaker fail over there just within range of those Inferno Tower beams, and that's why this base is actually really good here, because you cannot use a wall breaker to crack in right along that edge there. You can see the queen right now being targeted by those beams, so he adjusts really nicely on the fly here using his jump, because he knows that it's absolutely crucial that his queen gets into that compartment and takes down that Inferno Tower. Not only did he use the jump there, but he popped that Iron Fist ability on the Barbarian King a little bit earlier than he intended to, because he knew he had to create the funnel for the queen to go into that compartment, take down that Inferno Tower. And again, it's one of those two-phase objective type raids. He takes down that Inferno Tower, takes down the Clan Castle using the queen in the beginning portion of the raid, using those bowlers. The queen's actually going to die because, as you can see, the healers move off the queen onto those bowlers, but luckily the bowlers are able to finish off this kind of Tesla farm right in the middle of the center of the base here. And the miners now, it's going to be basically the miners' job to take out the rest of the entire base. But check this out right here, guys. I'm going to zoom in. You can see all the miners getting held up on those skeleton traps, and then a double giant bomb, and then a triple giant bomb. But luckily, French was able to pre-place that heal spell and that rage spell, make sure he keeps at least some of those miners alive, and then a few that went around are able to merge with the remaining miners from the survival of that absolute bloodbath in that little compartment there. That was a tough compartment. You had the skeleton trap, you had 3 giant bombs, and you had the Inferno Tower, but luckily these miners were able to make it out alive miraculously. Pulls off the really nice 3-star here. I saw this one live too, and I was partying, man. French is such a good attacker, so way to go, French, with that attack. Let's go ahead and move on to the Town Hall 9 attacks, because there were a lot of good Town Hall 9 attacks as well on our end, starting with this one, which may have gotten my vote for the coolest raid of the entire war, HPHB by Devin here. And I've seen it before, but I haven't seen it live in Clan War, and I'll be honest, I was a little surprised when I saw the army, when I caught this raid live, seeing the P.E.K.K.A.s instead of the Giants basically in the same type of role. So here come the P.E.K.K.A.s, and things start out a little bit shaky in the very beginning here. You can see the Teslas, which is really the worst thing you want to see at the beginning of a P.E.K.K.A. raid, but luckily Daven kind of stays the course here, unleashes the bowlers. The funnel has been created luckily, so all the troops do funnel nicely into that first compartment there. Uses the rage spell on the outside of the wall too, really allowing those P.E.K.K.A.s to get through that wall, start engaging that queen instead of letting her sit there firing at them while the Teslas are also doing that 4 times damage to them. So at this point here, using the second rage spell, getting them through into that next compartment, into the core of the base, you can see the rest of the 2 Teslas have appeared at this point. He tries to take them out with a couple wizards, however they fail. Instead he adds some hogs. The hogs take out that mortar as well as both of the Teslas there, and he's still sitting on 6 hogs, which are actually going to be the MVPs, along with obviously the bowlers and the P.E.K.K.A.s of this raid. So the queen actually walking west around this perimeter here actually isn't a bad thing here because she's actually going to help with the cleanup. He used some hogs, a very smart deployment there, and really pay attention to how long Daven waits to use these heal spells on these hogs here. It would be tempting to use it around right now. Instead, he uses the Iron Fist ability on his BK, then he waits, deploys that heal on that first segment there, saving that last heal for the last segment in the east there. So this is really smart here. You can see that last Tesla over there right in the corner of the base, and you can see at this point here, things are looking pretty good for Daven. He has the healers still alive. The healers are targeting the P.E.K.K.A.s and the bowlers. He has his queen still alive. His queen takes out that Tesla, making her way around. There's actually plenty of time still on the clock at this point. So at this point, I'm like, I can't believe this is actually going to work, and it actually looked pretty good too. I think he had to deploy a few more hogs than he had planned initially on those first Teslas, but other than that, the raid actually worked out really, really well here for Daven. Certainly a fun raid to try out for you guys too if you're looking for an alternative to HGHB. I'll probably use this type of a raid in another tutorial type video in the future as well. So moving right along here, guys, this is a really cool attack here by Kuso Dealer. He's actually going to use a really surgical type deployment on these hogs to really pick apart this base. So this is another one of my favorite raids of the entire war. So let's kind of check things out, see how he tackles this base. You can see obviously he starts out with some sniping here, an archer and a minion, and then he's going to deploy his first group of hogs near that hidden Tesla over there. And what these hogs are going to do, only 4 or 5 hogs, and he takes out this entire little compartment here, which is obviously one of the most defensively dense compartments of the entire base. Now there are 2 giant bombs on top of to the northwest of that town hall as well, so he knows he has to take out his compartments to basically cut off that hog lane. That way those giant bombs don't come back to bite him later on in the raid. So at this point, the hogs are nearing the end of their objective in this raid. Basically, they've taken out that little compartment there. They've also triggered that hound out of the clan castle, and that archer that started sniping to begin this raid is going to act as an anchor to lure that lava hound all the way up to the north, and then he's going to use the queen to take down this lava hound. Now, obviously, time isn't really a huge issue in this raid because the hogs make such quick work of this base, especially when you're bringing 30 hogs. So as his queen finishes up with these pups here, he deploys his golem, he deploys his second poison spell on the enemy queen, trying to slow her down from eating away at that golem's hit points, and then he uses the wall breakers to sneak in there as the golem was distracting that wizard tower. So at this point here, he deploys the rest of his wizards, 7 wizards. He deploys a final hog to take down that mortar that the other hogs didn't finish, and at this point, the entire basically northern hemisphere or the northeastern hemisphere of the base is already down. And like I said, those 2 giant bombs to the northwest of that town hall won't be an issue at this point in the raid. So now as the queen and the wizards are still at full health, kind of make their way around the base, basically on cleanup duty from here on out, he deploys his king to take some pressure off the hogs, take some of that defensive attention, especially from this wizard tower as they get closer to this compartment. Then he drops his last heal spell on this other crucial area of the base, defensively speaking, and then basically he has plenty of hogs left at this point. He has the heal to heal them up off that final giant bomb, and then from here on out, it's going to be a cakewalk. Very nice surgical attack here by Kuso on this base. I really love the way he tackled this base design, basically accounting for every single compartment in the base with a specific game plan. So that was a really, really beautiful example of a surgical hog attack. Now let's go ahead and end this recap with this raid here by Dark Knight. She is a great air raider, and this was a great air attack. You can see here, it's going to be interesting because she starts off this raid by breaking the hole here from the south, and I think she wanted to take out that air defense that's kind of close to this compartment, but things don't go necessarily as she planned, but she's able to recover and basically take down all 4 air defenses just using the air portion of this raid. Usually, if you can't take down at least 1 air defense, it's going to be pretty difficult to pull off a 3-star using La Lune, but you can see here she's actually able to recover very nicely. You can see that had the queen actually went into that compartment with the king, she would have obviously targeted and taken down that 1 air defense. Instead, she's kind of remaining alive here. She actually helps out take down the enemy queen that the king wasn't able to finish the job with. She goes ahead and pops that queen's ability and then immediately deploys that lava hound to take the attention away from the queen of that archer tower and the rest of the defensive units in the vicinity. And then basically she's going to use 2 lava hounds at that first air defense and 2 lava hounds at that northern air defense, taking special care to not use any more balloons than she really needs to for each defensive unit. You can see that Tesla farm is obviously a concern over there, and she goes ahead and uses her rage on that Tesla farm. But other than that, she's very careful to hold back 3 balloons for the back end, not rushing, not panicking, not using all the haste spells right off the bat here. You can see this haste spell that she does hold on is used at a very crucial time in the raid because these balloons are really taking their time at this point with that expo, and they need to get over there before that hound pops, or at least at the same time the hound pops, and take down that air defense. So at this point, there's only one air defense left. The expos are set on ground. The balloons are making quick work of the remaining defensive units. They're actually going to fall short of taking down this air defense here. All those air-seeking mines right near that air defense. But the queen is still alive, along with a handful of pups, and she held back on 3 wizards. So the wizards and the pups combine, along with the archer queen, to pull off this 3-star attack. So again, guys, before I let you go, just want to give a huge shout out to everybody at OneHive for pulling off a very convincing victory against us, and a huge shout out to all my clanmates and all my teammates for basically being part of this war and stepping up to the challenge. So thank you so much, everybody in Elite Nation, and huge shout out to OneHive. Guys, thank you, my viewers, for watching until the very end. I really appreciate it, and as always, take care, guys.